Hello, everyone, and welcome into the TexAgs Rewind presented by Academy in the Rollo Insurance Studio. David Nuno and Nick Savage. Nick, what was your favorite part of today's program?
My favorite part was we got to talk Aggie football, baseball, and basketball in today's Rewind.
Yeah, I agree that today we covered so many different things. I think my favorite part was an extension of the Luchador podcast where we went by position group, where I talked to Billy about if this player makes this big leap, where could that take the defensive line? Where could it take the wide receiver room? So that was a good discussion. But from a guest perspective, Buzz Williams came on earlier than usual today. He was awesome. Good conversation with Buzz. And Scott Livingstone, we're getting ready for baseball because it starts on the Valentine's weekend on the 14th. So that and more, it is the TexAgs Rewind. But he seemed, not just because of the production, yes, the production, but the way he just felt it. Like he's like, give me the ball, I'm going to shoot. And sometimes I'd rather he didn't, but he has earned the green light.
He has. And I will push back just a little bit. Yeah, I could have gone without the drama. However, we have to understand South Carolina as well. That is the fourth consecutive game at home for South Carolina that they've lost to a highly ranked SEC team by 5 points or less. I mean, again, they lost to number 1 Auburn by 3 points at home.
Yep.
Then they lost at that time number 5 Florida by 1 point, and Florida gave it away. I mean, they gave it away to Florida. They lost in overtime by 5 points to Mississippi State, and then they lose by 4 to A&M. So South Carolina, don't pay attention to the record. When they're at home, they're a better team. And now you root for them because they're going to go out, and I guarantee you they're going to beat somebody and mess it up for somebody. And it's probably going to help A&M.
See, but the way I look at it is, it's not you, it's me when you're breaking up with somebody, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's not about South Carolina.
I was never that way. I was always the one to say, yeah, it is you. But go on.
But in South Carolina, yes, South Carolina, I expected it to be tight. But there were a couple of moments in the game where you're like, we can knock. It can be a blowout, right?
It can be.
In the second half, you're up 13, you're feeling great, and then you don't score for, 4 minutes, it felt like? It was. But regardless, this team just wins tight games.
They got the win.
They keep winning quad 1 and quad 2 games, right?
Yeah.
They're in the top 4 spots in the SEC. They're exactly where they need to be right now.
Man, I hope they can stay in the top 4 and get the double bye in the tournament.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be easy. And let me ask you this.
I'll answer.
All right, we've had some angst here and there about the loss at Texas and having to come back against Oklahoma and Ole Miss and then losing out, all those things. When the SEC season started, like on January 4th or whatever it was, and if I told you at the midway mark of the SEC race it'd be 6-3, would you have signed off on it?
Yeah.
Of course, 6-3 at the midway point of the SEC of this brutal SEC grind.
How excited are you for the Michael Early era? All right, and I don't know if you've spoken to him before, but to me, the fact that all these players went to bat for him, to use a baseball term, right, and he is now your head coach, and a team that is so close yet inexperienced as a head coach, but when you got a veteran team like this, Scott, I think pushing the right buttons is obviously a thing, but you also are going to be led from within.
Yeah, I mean, I agree because, he said it before, coach fed, player led, so he's a real players manager. I'm going to give him high praise here. I kind of equate him to my manager in San Diego, Bruce Bochy, who, he was a players manager and he let the players ran the clubhouse. They policed themselves. And when you've got the experience that these guys have in that locker room, the older players can kind of bring the young guys along and just keep everybody, make sure they toe the line and they're ready to go because they're just going to keep playing their ball. And I think like I said, what they've added, they're just stronger than last year. I really believe so. And I think there's good things ahead. I do like the early hire. I did say that, it's a great hire, but it's the right hire. I like what he's done, and he has responded to some messages when I've messaged him a couple times. And he's a former player guy, which I like being a former player. He's opening things up, like the first pitch weekend we have coming up. He's making that available to former players to come in, and I think it's the right hire. It's a great hire, and I think he's going to be great for A&M.
So D1 baseball has Jace, Ryan Praker, Gavin Grohovac, and Wyatt Hensler on their preseason All-Americans, which is a huge, having those guys here to do what is expected this year. So let's kind of take them in parts. Where can Jace take his game this year? Last year, 29 homers, bat 305, right? Top 10 in home runs, you name it, runs scored, total bases. Where can Jace take his game?
Well, I mean, after his freshman year, he still had a target on his back because everybody was like, "God, this guy's amazing. He's good. He's stud. He's got all the tools," and he still put up better numbers last year. And so I think he can keep getting better at all aspects of the game. And I think if he cuts down on strikeouts, he's going to have a higher average because those outs some of them are going to turn into hits. So I think he can definitely elevate even further. I think there's more in the tank.
I mean, Henry, the last couple games, his presence not only at the free throw line, but I saw a stat that when he plays over 20 minutes, he's a 12-7 player. Just talk about Henry's steadiness and what he brings, especially in late game moments.
Yeah, and I think I've said it a couple of times to you, Nuno, early in the year. Analytically, he was through the roof, and I think Solo's injury and the decision to move him where he started at the 4 was healthy for Gochi. It was the right time for Gochi. H's injury and moving Mo in, those are all good players. We're probably utilizing them in the past week in a different way. The minutes were dispersed for sure differently. Obviously, Solo didn't play in either game. H played in Columbia. And so I like it. I like how some of that unfolded. The one thing that I told Henry on Thursday morning at Early Bird that I sincerely appreciate is his responsibilities on both sides of the ball when he's at the, quote, 4 versus his responsibilities on both sides of the ball when he's at the 5. They're distinctly different. And against Oklahoma, a team who's basically playing all the time with 4 guards, and some of the time against us, they played with 5. I thought him being able to execute his responsibilities, regardless of the position, outstanding. He has the ability to do that. What I thought was key was his communication level in real time to his teammates, because what we do 1 through 4 defensively is completely different than what we do 1 through 5. And so if Henry's on the floor at the 4 and never comes off the floor, and we sub Gochi out and put Andy in, now Henry's at the 5 and he's yet to come off the floor. And our coverages are different with the 5. And I thought his communication was like perfect. And I thought our guys receiving that in real time, I thought we did a really good job actually in both games. They're 2 different complected teams in how they play and how they score. But yes, Henry's been producing at a high rate, but there's some intangible things that I also think are helping our other guys produce at a high rate as well.
Let me just say, if Terry Bussey makes a sizable leap at wide receiver, if he plays wide receiver, I know that's still, he could potentially go back to cornerback, but if he makes a sizable leap, then what?
If Terry Bussey makes a sizable leap with what you brought in with Craver and Concepcion, then I think this is going to be a really, really nice receiving core. It's going to take more than just that.
Yep.
3 is not enough at that position. But if those are your top 3, that could be a pretty exceptional group right there, 1, 2, 3. Probably the best top 3. If Bussey makes that leap, probably the best top 3 A&M's had. I don't think at any point in the Jimbo era did they have anything better than that. If you look at what Craver flashed as a true freshman last year and what Concepcion's done at NC State, and then what you're talking about with Bussey, which is you look at his highlight tape and then you take that to another level, and it's like, okay, if he makes that step. When was the last time A&M's had 3 really, really good ones? It probably Josh Reynolds, Christian Kirk, and whoever. I can't remember who was the third of some of those bunches, but the overlap of Reynolds, Kirk, and I would almost say whoever the third was, because Christian was so good, and Josh was so good too. So since then, but you look back, I mean, it's damn near it's 6 years under Jimbo. I think Josh was, Christian's last year was Sumlin's last year. He played in that bowl game against Wake. So it's 6 years under Jimbo, a year under Elko. It's 7, 8 years probably since you had both of those guys plus the rest of the receiving corps. So at least 8 years since, that's if Bussy makes that jump. And if you're asking me at that position, who making that leap has the biggest impact, I would say it's undoubtedly him, without question.
Nick, a very professional approach today here on The Rewind. Tell the people what to do.
Like, comment, subscribe. Stay tuned for more vids.
There you go. We'll see you next time. Thank you.